Okay, good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to another Midwife Live Talk. I'm Anna. I'm a mother of two, and I'll be moderating tonight's conversation with midwife and IBCLC lactation consultant Karin Siegler. Before we get started, I want to say something about tonight's title. We phrased it the most common breastfeeding mistakes, but we don't mean mistakes as in parents doing something wrong or something to feel guilty about. They're really the misconceptions or myths, outdated advice, and well-intentioned traps that so many of us, including myself, stumble into. And yeah, I certainly did. So when I was pregnant, for instance, with my first baby girl, I read every pregnancy and birth book I could get my hands on. And I thought I'd have plenty of quiet time after the birth, snuggled up with my newborn to read all the breastfeeding and baby books then. And and well, that couldn't have been further from reality. It actually took me it took me a couple of weeks to figure out breastfeeding with help of Karen, luckily, who I had on speed dial. And I think nearly a year for me before I picked up a book again. So um, I was just so much in the thick of recovery and, getting used to my new motherhood role. So yeah, I feel like many parents, I assume breastfeeding would just come supernaturally and that my baby would instinctively know what to do, and so would I, and that in hospital the nurses and midwives could just help me, and they did. They were amazing. But breastfeeding is it's a learned skill for both mother and baby, and I think most families experience a very similar um, um, yeah a similar start. And I think a lot of worries, questions, and challenges are very similar for a lot of families. So this is why we thought this would be a good talk. So tonight isn't about judging anyone or telling you what you've done wrong. So this is more about replacing anxiety with understanding, and myths with evidence, and giving you the confidence to know what's normal, when to seek help, and where to find the right support. So we'll be answering also a lot of questions and concerns that have come up in our WhatsApp community. If you don't know, we have international WhatsApp community or groups, and chances are that if you've wondered about something, you're definitely not the only one. So, as always, this is a conversation, not a lecture. We'd love for you to join in. I saw earlier someone had their video on. We love looking at your beautiful faces, no matter if they're tired or fresh. And you can always unmute yourself and ask questions, because that's what we are for. Karen is the real expert here. And if you're shy, you can also put them in the chat box and I will read them out loud. This talk will be maximum 1 hour and recorded, so that people later on can watch it if they didn't have time right now. Okay, so Karen, let's start right at the beginning. We spend so much time preparing for birth. Why do you think breastfeeding preparation is often overlooked?
Yes, it's definitely overlooked. I think if my clients ask me, shall I do an antenatal course or a breastfeeding course, definitely spend money on a breastfeeding course. And many parents, they think, oh, breastfeeding is so natural and it comes by itself and it's the instinct. My baby knows what to do. I even know what to do. And that's not true. Breastfeeding is a skill and it need to be learned. And starting to learning afterwards is sometimes a little bit challenging because you're tired, because everyone is giving you advices around you and you do not know in which direction to go. Going for birth, this is a natural thing, and your body responds to reflexes. Contractions are produced by your body. You know to react instantly when you give birth. Then, and we learn and we read books, breastfeeding, not at all. It's very, very important to understand how breastfeeding works from the beginning on. And if you think about, I mean, just Anna, you're an experienced mom of two kids. How long did you breastfeed? How many months? How many years? If you calculate everything together, and I'm sure you can say it's more than, I don't know, 1 year. Even two
Oh,
years? How
yes,
long do
yes,
you
for
breastfeed?
sure. I breastfed my daughter for 15 months and my son, or maybe 18 months, my son for 20, I think.
For 20 months and
Mm,
15 months. So if we calculate that, you're spending, I would not say years, but more than a year on breastfeeding.
mm,
Giving birth is a topic of a couple of hours and then it's done. Breastfeeding, you need to understand how it works. And yes, definitely invest the money into a breastfeeding course, even if
mm,
it's not as exciting because this usually belongs to moms and the partners are not so involved. So it's not so much fun like doing an antenatal course, but it's more important.
mm. And I'd like to go into a topic that is addressed so many times, nearly on a daily basis in our WhatsApp group. Um, it's low milk supply. What's the biggest misconception you see around milk supply?
The biggest misconception on milk supply is the idea on day two after birth, on day three after birth, my milk is coming in and there is the amount of milk I'm feeding my baby and everything is okay. It's not this. So the milk supply in the first 4 weeks is gradually increasing. Think about how small, how little, how tiny is the stomach of your baby. It has the size of a cherry one day after birth, the first 3 days after birth, slowly growing into the size of a walnut and an egg. So it becomes bigger slowly, slowly, slowly. So it is impossible that the milk amount is right away there. It will increase gradually, adapting to the size on your child's stomach. And if you think about when your baby is 4 weeks old, it drinks the same amount of milk in 24 hours, like if your baby is 6 months old or 8 months old, and there's a huge difference between both of them. Both babies drink around 800 to 1,200 mils on breast milk in 24 hours. And this milk cannot be in one day. So it gradually increases step by step every day. And to tell your beautiful boobs, hey, come on, make a little bit more milk because the baby's hungry. We slightly have a baby who is a little bit hungry all the time. It might not be the baby who is completely, happy and smiling and sleeping constantly, waking up every 3 hours, get a full bottle of milk and falling asleep again. Those breastfed babies, they are sometimes a little bit more restless. They request the boob constantly. And maybe you just fed your baby and 10, 15 minutes later it wants to have again some milk. And then because it's not as much sleeping as you expected, then maybe your mother-in-law or your mother will say, Anna, I think your baby is still hungry and it's not getting enough milk and you have milk, but it's not enough.
Maybe you
And
don't
Anna,
have enough milk.
you don't
Yeah.
have enough milk. So people from outside, also your husband saying, why is the baby constantly, not satisfied? And this baby is demanding and is not just sleeping and smiling and that's it. So maybe you consider, maybe I really should give a little bit top up afterwards and give a little bit formula and let's see if the baby is then full. Then I know it was just hungry. And you give a little bit formula and look at this baby. It's amazing. It's sleeping now. First time for 3, 4, 5 hours without waking up. And your mother-in-law will say, I told you, Anna, the baby is just hungry. You do not make enough milk. And this is correct. You don't make enough milk in the first 4 weeks because slowly, slowly, by breastfeeding more and more frequently, this is the information on your boobs. Hey, make more milk. So we reach the maximum capacity or the maximum supply just by 4 weeks. And
And then it
and
stays
then it
the
stays
same
consistently.
until
And then it
six
stays
months.
consistently, yes.
Yeah.
But if I interfere in the first 4 weeks because I expect the baby to be sleeping, waking up, smiling, can I have something to drink and falling asleep again, then this bottle you feed is missing on your supply and your supply cannot increase and it cannot reach the maximum supply which you will need
Mm.
to have by 4 weeks. So
Yes,
again, it takes.
two things happening at the same time. So if you're supplementing your baby, no matter if it's formula or breast milk, and you don't stimulate your breasts at the same time, So my husband, for instance, in the early days, he's like, Anna, you're so tired. You know what? Why don't you just sleep a little bit longer? I'm just gonna give the baby milk. First of all, where do I get this milk from? I have to pump. Like there is no way to get out of it. You have to stimulate the breasts to maintain and increase milk supply, and to not risk getting engorged or get a blocked duct. And at the same time, yeah, where else would you get the milk from? You need to have expressed milk to feed it in a bottle. And then the other thing is, if you then choose formula to do it, there's a little bit of an added, yeah, a little bit of an added risk factor that cow's milk protein is slightly more satiating. So babies then are a bit more content, maybe sleep for an hour longer. And if you do that every day, then the breasts don't get stimulated as much. And then, I mean, mixed and combination feeding can be incredible for families, but I think it's important to be aware that sometimes formula can have uh, a bit of an effect on milk supply as well. And did I say this correct, Karen?
Yes, it has an effect on milk supply. What you were talking about is actually what we call the protein morphine, which is in milk. And we all know this. We love cheese. This melted cheese on sandwich, on a burger, this is so yummy. So we have this protein morphine, which really we love a lot, and it makes at the same time a baby a little bit more sleepy than the breast milk. And think about if you have a cow, outside on the grass eating grass, usually mommy cow can move away from baby cow because they are very sleepy and they are phlegmatic. They're not as active, and this is in the cow's milk, the special type of protein which is there. So yes, those babies are a little bit sleepier than the breastfed baby.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to go back to what I said about 4 weeks and not topping out or giving formula. I cannot give that as a general advice because sure, we need to check that the baby is okay and that the baby is gaining weight. So definitely it is important to control that the weight gain is even so okay. And what is okay if we talk about newborn? So the normal weight drop after birth is actually 7 to 10%. When I was a young midwife, I still learned a baby is allowed to drop or to lose 10% of a birth weight. So a baby was 3 kilograms, so it is allowed to go down to 2,700 grams before we step in and we take action. These days, it's changed to 7% on weight loss. So everything between 7 and 10 depends. If I have a very tiny baby, I'm more strict. If I have a baby who has a little bit of higher weight, that's okay. And then we take additional checks, support the milk supply, maybe by using a pump under the support from a lactation consultant or who is around you to help you with that. Then we definitely need to check. So just saying, no, the baby can be hungry the next 4 weeks without controlling the weight is not okay. We check the urine output, we check the diapers, and we make sure the weight gain is still stable. On day 14, when the baby is 2 weeks old, I want to see the baby back on birth weight. So the baby has actually 2 weeks time to reach the birth weight. And then after 2 weeks, we just see an increase on weight gain. And when I'm working in countries where we are where we see more formula, for example, Hong Kong is low on breastfeeding rate, has a higher formula rate. Those people and also the professionals, they are used to see a weight gain right away from birth. So the growth chart looks completely different. With breast milk, it goes down 2 weeks and then it goes up to birth. Well, there's no weight gain. From a formula baby, it goes up right away. And even experts at hospital, they sometimes forget about this, that it is normal for a breastfed baby to lose weight.
Mm-hmm. And so I just want to review the most reliable signs that a baby is getting enough milk. So you mentioned wet nappies, you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned the weight gain,
Mm-hmm.
and I think what we can also add is the overall behavior of the baby. So, for instance, a hungry baby, this is something that you will also learn, has like clenched fist and it brings up the hands towards the face, and they might even be looking for the boob, and then they're drinking, and then ideally by the end of the feed, their hands become relaxed and the whole body relaxes. And you should see this sort of behavior. If your baby just stays always intense and always hungry, then maybe there's something that that deserves a look by a professional, so like a
Yes.
lactation consultant.
And when we talk about weight, I
Yeah,
like the weight not so much. I like the percentile curve. So this
yeah.
is to me always the more accurate measurement. So there are apps for free. You can download them if you really want to control that. So write in the percentile your baby was born in. You just give the date of birth, the birth weight, and then it will tell you its percentile, I don't know, 20, 25. And then it should more or less, remain on the safe percentile. Because if a baby is gaining weight constantly, but a little bit slow, it looks to, yeah, but it's gaining weight. Yes, but maybe not enough, and it can drop out on the percentile curve. And then sometimes we realize that too late. So the weight is not as accurate to me as I like the percentile curve.
Mhm. I found extremely difficult with breastfeeding because I'm a type A person. I love to control everything I can. I like everything to be prepared. I like everything to have a structure. I like to know what's going on and what could be more important than the well-being of your baby. So I started worrying like, oh, how do I know how much Clara drank? How do I know how much I'm making? So, and also this is something that often happens. We have concerned mothers that post in our group, like, I just pumped 20 milliliters of milk. I'm usually exclusively breastfeeding. I just pumped 20 milliliters of milk. Surely this can't be enough. Like, help, I think I have not enough milk. And what would you say to
Mm.
my former self and those mothers that ask these questions?
Yes, the pump is a very helpful gadget and tool, but it's not accurate in measuring how much milk you make. So you cannot say a pump and everything what comes out, this is what I have on milk. Not at all. There are breasts, they work perfectly with a breast pump. So it is okay, but even so, the breast pump only removes about 40 to maybe 60% of the milk inside your breast. Why is that? Because the breast pump only works with suction, with vacuum. While when a baby is drinking or breastfeeding, it uses more like a massage technique, stimulating the whole jaw face muscle. All face muscles are active when a baby is breastfeeding, and not just like drinking on a straw and sucking out what is there. It completely massages the breast. So whenever you pump and you do not see any more milk coming, you can latch on your baby and there's still milk coming. So this is a very incorrect assessment to see how much milk I make. And if we go around incorrect assessment about milk supply, the second incorrect is really checking baby's weight before breastfeeding and after breastfeeding. Don't do this. All of these measurements, they lead you into a wrong direction because we always are so worried. My baby is not getting enough, so I will top up. Better to be on the safe side. But this interferes with wrong technique in breastfeeding, including formula too early. So if you're insecure, better you ask an IBCLC consultation, lactation consultation, and check there. So a pump is not good. I had a mom, she was a twin mom, and she had babies age of 4 months. She successfully, fully, exclusively breastfed both kids. When she used the pump, she could just make 40 mils. That's it. You see, and with a twin mom, she's doing double the amount of milk. She's not making 1 liter a day, she's making over 2 liters of milk in 24 hours. So the breast doesn't say anything.
Yeah, and
And
also
this
I think,
hands-free blank, they're
yeah,
even not efficient or not very efficient. We have these beautiful
the
hands-free
wearable pump, the wearable
variable
pumps,
pump.
yeah.
Yes, they are not as strong as a normal pump. So pump is not a clear identicator for
Yeah.
how much milk do I make.
Mm. I have friends who are teachers and they swear by their wearable pump because they can pump while they're teaching. And, if you have no other way of pumping in your
Fine.
day, it's better than none. But I would not choose it as my primary pump necessarily. I think they can be a
Then
bit niffy to
the,
get right, and they usually don't have a strong suction. Yeah.
the suction is not as
Yeah.
strong, and
Yeah.
it's yes.
Yeah. Can I just add one more thing because you just touched on it? I think whenever you make any changes to breastfeeding, whether that's you doing or pumping or supplementing or anything, this is, the way you're feeding your child is actually quite important. And I think we spend so much money, like I spent so much money on my pregnancy and breastfeeding pillow, and I even bought all the lactation teas, and I mean they're expensive. And I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, if everyone just had a lactation consultant on speed dial, it would be so much better. And yeah, before making any changes that are related to feeding your baby, I think it's really worth to say, okay, let's just stop before I reach to the can of breast like the formula, or before I make a change to how I respond to my child, or I'm worried about or unsure about something. Let's just pause, speak to someone who knows um, what they're talking about, an international board certified lactation consultant, not necessarily a pediatrician, not necessarily your OBGYN. They are incredible medical professionals. But I have two friends. One is a pediatrician, one is a GP, and they didn't, in Germany at least, they didn't learn anything about breastfeeding in their education. So I think go straight to the expert if that's my one piece of advice. Um, but oh
Yes,
my
and if you
gosh,
mention how to increase, definitely how to support your supply,
yeah.
I think there are just two topics are crucial. The
Mm.
first topic is really let your baby on as frequent as possible, and this can go up to 12 times in 24 hours.
Or more,
Bec-
I
or
think.
even
Or
more.
more. Yeah.
Definitely. You know, sometimes it really feels like you're breastfeeding the first days so much and so frequently. And the second is sleep. And this is okay, how can I sleep if I'm constantly breastfeeding? Think about co-sleeping. Do a honeymoon, a family bed. Snuggle up with your baby. It's okay if the baby's in a safe position and sleeping next to you or resting next to you, that you close your eyes and you rest as well. This is what moms do when they're expecting the second baby. They still have a toddler running around, and take the baby next to you and rest when you're in bed. I think this is something what is okay. Breastfeeding teas, breastfeeding cookies, pillows, this and this you can spend money on, but they do not make such a huge difference. So it's really latching on your baby
Mm.
frequently is a very common thing. Let's
Yeah.
talk about breast size, Anna. You are the
Yes,
role
so
model
there's,
for breast
I
size.
mean, this is TMI, too much information, but I have no breast tissue. Like before I had
I'm happy
Clara,
you mentioned it,
I
not
called,
me.
I called Clara and I was like, how am I going to feed my child? I have no boobs. I'm part of the itty bitty titty committee. I really have, yeah, not much to offer. And she encouraged me. I was like, she's lying. Like, surely this isn't possible. I mean, I've exclusively breastfed two very big children, and I still don't know how that happened. Well, Karin
Mhm.
can tell us. I think during pregnancy, a lot happens to your
A
chest.
lot happens during
Yeah.
pregnancy, and it's honestly not about the breast size. The women who conceived in a natural way, they usually also have a big a part in your breast, what is milk producing tissue. And during pregnancy, those starts to grow, they starts to develop, become bigger, and you all notice that your breast size might become a little bit bigger during pregnancy. So this is the milk producing active tissue in your breast.
Mm.
But even so, still some women have extremely small breasts, and this only tells me about the milk capacity. So how much milk can be stored in your breast? If I have huge boobs, I can store a lot of milk all the time. So that's okay. If I have small breasts, these breasts are producing the same amount of milk, not less, but they have to breastfeed a little bit more frequently. It doesn't mean that the baby is not getting enough milk. It's just the capacity is not there. And this is also one of my favorite myths, Anna.
Yeah.
After a certain time, after a
Does
couple of
breasts feel soft?
The breast
That's right.
feels soft. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. So maybe you're breastfeeding 4 weeks, 6 weeks, and then you realize, I mean, my baby's gaining weight, everything's okay, but my breasts, they shrink, they become smaller, and they constantly feel soft. So must be no milk. Breasts are very smart. While at the beginning, right after birth, your breasts start to always have a little bit of storage. You have a slight an oversupply because your breast doesn't know your baby. Maybe you have twins or what's going on. So there's always something. Then breastfeeding becomes more efficient. And while you always will have a reservoir or a storage on milk, the breast then change and switch into the modus on producing while your baby is latching on. So the milk is actually actively built freshly a little bit later on while you breastfeed. And this is why your breast always might feel more or less the same texture. And it doesn't tell you about I have milk or I don't have milk. And I think the same thing is the other way around. Many women said, this baby is not draining my breast properly. It's not, the latch must be poor because the baby is not my, even always I see milk dripping out. I constantly have milk. The breast can't be drained completely. This is impossible. So we
Yeah,
always,
you also can't do that with a pump. And if you're trying to completely empty your breasts with a pump, you're gonna get yourself into big trouble because you're gonna get yourself an oversupply. And
you
trust me,
oversupply.
that's not what
Yes,
you want. It sounds like a
yes.
good problem to have. It really is not. It's
It's not. It's not.
so hard.
Yes. So
Yeah.
do not try because you read somewhere on Google, okay, make sure your breasts are properly drained. This is not okay. It's important that some milk is left inside because it tells the breast how much milk do I still need to produce, how much is too much, how much is not enough. So the pressure inside your breast is actually stimulating more supply or reduce the supply. So forget about these pumping until the breasts are drained.
Yeah, but I think when, especially in the early days, where you do, feel, you do feel a difference between, feeling full and you put your baby on, and then you feel softer. That's a positive sign. But thinking there shouldn't be any milk coming dropping, that's misleading. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I think the big thing is, it is possible to have low milk supply,
Hmm.
but in majority of the cases, I think it's a perceived milk supply, perceived low milk supply. So they're actually making enough. You're actually making enough, but you think, I think this
That
is
might
not
not be enough,
good. And
or
then,
because your baby's crying.
or because your
Typical
baby's
thing.
crying, upset, behaving, like constantly wanting the boob, feeling gassy, being loud, and then you're doubting yourself. Oh my gosh. I mean, I doubted myself many times with both. I mean, you'd think that the second time I'd be cool like a fridge, but I wasn't. I even then you're like, oh my gosh, I put the baby on and then it's crying and then coming on and off. And maybe Karen, you can tell a little bit more about this.
Yes, I was thinking about, what can we give first-time moms to make sure, but I know the baby's getting enough milk. So
Mm.
a baby will cry, and crying is not always a sign that the baby is hungry, but this is the first thing you do. If your baby it looks uncomfortable, if your baby is fussy, if your baby is crying, whatever signal you get from your baby, latch the baby on. It doesn't matter. So latch the baby on. It can happen that there's anything else. Maybe the baby is lying down on a fold, something is uncomfortable, maybe the body is itchy somewhere, it cannot scratch itself. So, it can be so many reasons. The tummy is a little bit sore, it needs to burp, it feels lonely, it wants to cuddle. Many issues we have. It's not only because the baby is hungry. So, whenever you breastfeed the baby, or whenever your baby is unsettled, latch the baby on, even if you did before, because breastfeeding is always eating and drinking in one thing. So sometimes your baby, when it starts drinking or when it starts sucking on your breast, it is only maybe a little bit thirsty. Maybe it was crying before, has a dry throat, and it makes juicy sacs, and then the fore milk, which is very watery or more watery, rich on lactose, on milk sugar, and it is enough, and you will stop after a while. but it's not, it didn't eat so much until it's full. If when a baby continues to a full, a couple of minutes longer, then the fat is added into the milk. So it's really like, a bartender is mixing up the whole thing together and then it gets the full food. This is why feeding on demand is the right thing for a baby and we cannot focus on every 3 hours. This is like if you're going outside in Hong Kong and it's very hot outside and I tell you, no, it's not yet 3 hours, so you do not get a glass of water yet. So we respond to babies' need, and this is more crucial. So, what can be a list to tick off that I know the baby is okay? Really count the nappies. And what I tell my clients is in the morning, 6 a.m., the person who's changing the nappy after 6 a.m. the first time, place 8 nappies on top of the changing table. And whenever who's going there and changing the nappy and you see all the nappies are gone, 8 nappies were used up. So the baby is actually okay. It's not so much about the poo or the pee. Whenever you change the nappy, they always pee at the same time. So it's not just a count pee or urine or poo whenever you change the nappy. I think this is the most important topic. Something goes in, something needs to go out. Second topic is really what Anna said. And when a baby is breastfed and you see, it's falling asleep afterwards, maybe you see some milk dripping next to his mouth. This is a positive signal. It relaxes, it feels settled after drinking. It's a good sign. And third, I definitely would say, in case you are very, very worried or people stress you out about why is your baby so fussy, you don't have enough milk, it's okay getting a scale and checking the scale, the baby's weight, I don't know, every 2 weeks. And if you're very worried, once a week, but don't do it every day because the weight gain, it's not consistently, it's not, in a straight line, every day improving weight. The weight usually is jumps on a higher weight gain, it will have a plateau, and then it's the next one. So if you do the weight check every day, it will frustrate you because you see the baby's not gaining weight. So once a week is the most frequent thing you should do. Better twice a week. Do it always at the same time and check the percentile. Then you're definitely on the safe side and nothing can happen.
So you say twice a week or every 2 weeks?
Every 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Every two
okay.
weeks. So I'm not saying, if you check too frequently, the chances you measure right into a plateau or, from the weight gain, then it will frustrate you and will lead you and say, oh no, you see, baby's not gaining any weight in the last 3 days. So I
Mhm.
have to top up. No, wait a little bit. Once a week is the most frequent weight check and from a mature baby, or every 2 weeks, even better. So then you're on the safe side.
And Lily just raised her hand if you want to speak. You have a question?
Yes, yeah. Hi. I have a question. So, but you mentioned during the first 2 weeks, there's this period of gaining weight. So I've always, when I remember when I went through this, sometimes the baby do sleep at night if you're lucky, and then it's the question: do I wake the baby up, yes or no, during these 2 weeks of gaining the lost weight? And
Yes.
I think the answer is like you should wait because they cannot go more than 4 hours without eating, right? But maybe can you just clarify, like, and then after that, then after they gain their birth weight, then you can let them sleep, right? Or do you still
Definitely.
need to wake them up?
No, you're right. The trigger, thank you, Lily. The trigger is actually, or the problem in the first week, the first 10 days is actually that babies, they're just happy with what is going around them. Think about inside your womb, the last 9 months, the baby was all inclusively fed through the umbilical cord. So this action from I need to work for and eat something, this takes for some babies a little while. So an issue sometimes is that a baby is too sleepy after birth and is not requesting the boobs. So I usually recommend moms to wake their baby up every 3 hours during daytime. And at nighttime, I would, as long, you see baby's weight dropping down after birth and it's not back to birth weight, definitely, I would wake up the baby every 4 to 5 hours, also to get your milk supply going and not missing. because it's true what Lily said. Some newborn babies, they are so happy sleeping 5 hours and they're not hungry. They feel happy. And have an eye on that and wake your baby up if the baby is not on birth weight. Once it is on birth weight, then definitely you can let your baby allow falling asleep at nighttime as long your boobs are okay and you do not need to pump. And then it usually regulates by demand and whenever the baby requests. But hands on, yes, definitely, Lily.
And this is also about frequency, feeding frequency, my question. I think we touched on it a little bit earlier already, but I, in the beginning, thought I should feed every 3 hours. Where does that expectation actually come from?
Mm. The 3 hours right away after birth, it makes sense because this is actually to get the milk supply going. Later on, when if people tell you, put your baby on a routine, it should have a pattern, there should be a feeding routine, it's easier for your life. This
Mm.
comes from formula feeding. The formula feeding, when we formula feed a baby, usually baby take in more milk than they actually need because drinking on a bottle is very easy for your baby. So it just does a little bit nibbling, and the milk, even the breastfeeding bottles, the milk supply or the flow is very easy. Taking the milk from the boobs takes 80 times more power, strength from the baby. So babies had to work from it. So they drink a little bit shorter. When they're full, they would just stop and they fall asleep. On a bottle, they feed more and babies are overfed. So this is why they go on a longer stretch and they might sleep longer or they get easily on a routine. But this is the reason is overfeeding a baby. But honestly, it's not a good thing to do. We always focus about baby needs to sleep, baby needs to sleep, baby needs to sleep, but not on the cause of overfeeding a baby. This is a
Mm.
wrong approach.
Yeah. So it's not really that helpful to stretch feeds either, to encourage
No,
the baby to
definitely
go
not.
longer, right?
No, no,
Yeah,
no.
because I
Longer
was
is not
I was
good.
on Instagram. I think I sent it to you, and I was a bit upset over it. But I there was this infant sleeping consultant, and she said like try to feed like stretch the interval between feeds longer so the baby gets a full feed. There's
Yes.
this, or there she had this obsession with full feeds rather than snacking. What do you think
Yeah.
about that? I think for
You
me this would have never worked because I had a low breast milk storage capacity. So I have
you
enough
needed it
milk, but I needed to feed my children very, very often.
frequently.
I exclusively fed them and that was totally, I was totally fine doing so. But if I had waited for an arbitrary app or clock to tell me when, I think I would have not fed them this
Yeah.
successfully this long.
Yes. Feeding on demand versus feeding on time schedule. Again, here, a baby with a bottle and a formula gets in everything, while a baby on the breast has the flexibility to choose if I just take the formula or if I take a full feed. So we leave it to the baby. This is why babies usually, when they're breastfed, they have less stomach issues. They're not so colicky because they decide they are not getting each time a full, I don't know, 200 milliliters bottle. They can decide what do I need at the moment. A baby on a bottle cannot decide how much and they need at the moment because the flow is strong and with even less sucking effort, they get a full mouth of milk in it. And on the breast, only what the baby requests and actively sucks in, this ends up in the stomach. And this is why the baby's in charge. And this is the beautiful thing of deciding I want to drink just the full milk, I want to have the full feed. And this is beautiful. Just think about yourself. If you are in Hong Kong, you are outside, and whenever you are thirsty, I also offer you a meal with that. Think about how your stomach feels. Sometimes you're just, oh my God, I'm so thirsty. I really want, I don't know, something to drink and refreshing. But I say, yeah, but then you have to eat your spaghetti first and then you can drink. It's okay. And it definitely keeps you full and tired because your stomach needs to digest the food and heavy. But it's not feeding on demand. What if you want to breastfeed exclusively is always the better option and not feeding on a routine.
Mm, okay. Yeah. So yeah, I think for me especially also like, following all these apps, like in the beginning with Clara, I tracked everything, I mean, with a newborn, it's helpful in the first couple of days to track the diaper output and like when, because I didn't really know where was left and right. So I put in um, when or how long she fed. But I continued doing it for quite a time. And then at some point I realized actually it's not good for me.
No,
Like it
no.
really, it
It's
caused
stress,
really
mom says.
unnecessary anxiety, I must say.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. And also the question is, yeah, but I need to remember, is it the right boob I fed on or the left boob? It doesn't matter. Just let your baby on, switch sides. Whatever you have in your mind, just go for it. There's nothing wrong. I have to say, when I came to Hong Kong, I learned about all of this because even I was a proper midwife at the time when I came in 2007 to Hong Kong. But I didn't know there are apps for breastfeeding. I didn't know there's a nursery cover. I didn't know that women write down if they're fed from the right or from the left side.
And
Because,
also how many minutes, you
and how
know,
many minutes,
I
it
used
doesn't
to
matter.
worry about how long the baby fed and how long they
Yes,
should
how
stay
long
on
does a
each
baby needs to
breast.
breastfeed?
Yeah.
Definitely. This
I
is
did that.
something
I still have my log.
you
It's
still have
like
it
a
on.
notebook of like,
So much work. How women I
and how
always
many
admired.
poos and how many pee.
Yes, yes. And
And
this
it's
is some
funny.
this is a
Even
Hong
but
Kong
even at the
thing.
hospital, they gave me
But that's important, I
That's
think,
okay. It's
the feed.
afterwards, it's
because
a newborn. But
it's a
then,
newborn I think in the very beginning, you want to see first day
what is
after you're
mommy
born, you
doing?
want to how much
Yes,
you see the meconium, you see the first wee,
yes,
Yeah, yeah.
then second day they have two wees or two, like it changes like this. And they want to see, is baby getting milk? Like
yes.
how is the baby doing? They can see a lot from the diaper, but you don't need to log a 4-month-old baby. Like, no
No, there's no
way.
need. It makes stress on you. So again, check the diapers, at least 8 nappies in 24 hours on top of the changing table, 6 a.m. to 6 a.m. next day. Then you're fine. If you're really worried, you can check the percentile curve. And otherwise, when the baby's unsettled, latch on. It doesn't matter for how long you breastfeed. It doesn't matter how short, how frequently. Just go with the flow. Every baby is different, same like us. We have different feeding
Yeah,
behaviors, eating behaviors, and this is the normal thing to do.
yeah.
But what do
So
you mean for how long doesn't matter? Because I remember I did
mm,
always 20 minutes in one side and 20 minutes on the other side. So it was a total of 40 minutes. So I felt like I just like breastfeeding is a full-time job because
Yes,
you
it
have to do
is.
it for like around 10 to 12 times. And then like in between they will burp, or in between they will like vomit the
Yes.
milk, or in between you have to change a nappy, so it's 1 hour. So by the time you have to breastfeed again, you think like, oh, every 2 3 hours. That's not true, because it starts the moment you start breastfeeding, not when you finish the feed. And that was one of my mistakes, that I thought like, so I finish a feed and then I have 2 hours of freedom. No, that's not true. You have at least 40 minutes, 30 minutes of freedom. And then you have to decide like, do I eat? Do I sleep? Do I shower? And then it's like, oh my God, I only have 20 minutes because I spent 10 minutes deciding on what to do while I didn't do anything. So I remember like, why does this take like so long? And then I remember, Anna, at some point you told me like, there's this active sucking while they're actually eating. And then there's like this passive too, where they're just like soothing somehow themselves. So what do you do? Like, because I
Yes,
mean, if you
this
have all the time in the world, of course, let them be. But if you don't, then it's always like a bit
yes.
frustrating.
This is a difficult topic about the timing, honestly, because first of all, we say yes to 20 minutes each side. I usually say 15 to 20 minutes each side, because a baby after birth is very small and tiny, and it takes a while to drink. Yes, definitely. But if we focus about timing, I also see it going into the wrong direction. If I see moms sitting there breastfeeding for over an hour, I know this baby doesn't have an efficient suck, because maybe the baby is just nibbling and not efficiently drinking, because otherwise there is no person, even we adults, we cannot eat constantly a whole pizza for an hour, because this is not there. So there is lots of not efficient sucking into this time. So I always need to look closely to the baby. Is my baby actively sucking? with some pauses in between, resting, and then start active sucking again? Or is it just nibbling all the time? And the mommy said, I did breastfeeding 1.5 hours and everything is great. But no, it's not because the baby's not drinking, it's sleepy on the breast. So we have to focus on that. Then later on, babies are getting more efficient when they drink. They get stronger. They decide, no, now I don't want a full feed. I just want to drink. I want to stay on. Then everything is getting more efficient. So then this timing usually after 4 weeks. 4 weeks is the time you need until breastfeeding settled. And then after 4 weeks, forget about this checking the time. Was it now 15 minutes? It will confuse you. Respond to baby's needs, and it is okay. Check the nappies and check the percentile cough. And at the beginning, either too short feeds or too long feed can be an issue. So around 15 to minutes to 20 minutes, yes, per side in the beginning, because your baby is tiny and small, okay, but not always. Sometimes, it's also the temper of the baby. Some are very experienced and they drink very well, and that's okay. They drink 10 minutes, 10 minutes, easy piece of cake, it's perfect. I do not need to force my baby stay on the boobs. If it's done, it's done. So more go away from timing. Watch your baby.
Watch the
Love what
baby.
you
Like, no baby is different. They're not robots. They don't know about the protocol
you
you've
go
made
through,
up.
yes.
And I think it's really important to watch your baby and
Watch it
yeah.
and
And
ask.
when in doubt, whip it out. That was my motto. When in doubt, whip them out and offer. And for
Yes,
the
and
breast,
and
you cannot feed a baby too much. You can
yeah,
overfeed with a bottle, but you cannot breastfeed a baby too much. You can breastfeed a baby too little. You cannot overfeed a baby with the boob. Impossible.
yes. And maybe at the end, Anna, we can mention in case, people ask you, what is a nice present for you for birth, ask for a consultant, for a breastfeeding consultant who can help you, who is close to you, because problems are coming up. And honestly, your parents-in-law, yeah, are not the best support. Good support is Lalechlik. I think in Hong
Mhm.
Kong we have these pair breastfeeding groups. They do an amazing job. Um, have someone who comes to a place, it is worth it. Just think about how much is a Canon formula. I don't know in Hong Kong, but I know it's a lot. So if you calculate it with the visit of one breastfeeding consultation who helps you solving the cares, or just reassure you that yes, you're doing great, everything what you do is perfect. This saves you a lot of money and helps you in feeling confident, because everyone around you will question your breastfeeding skills. Don't forget that. And if you're not prepared for it, and if you're not know what's coming up, that the baby is slightly hungry the first 4 weeks. Remember what I said at the beginning. The baby is not full and sleeping the first 4 weeks. Not a breastfed baby. It needs to wait until the milk is really there by 4 weeks, and then it is there.
And
So
they're
it
working really hard.
needs.
They're doing a very good job at stimulating the supply. They're doing a really,
Yes. Yes. So make sure you get the confidence from experts and not from Google and not from AI and not from I don't
your
know whoever.
well-meaning neighbor.
Yes. So I think this is the last advice
I
from my
have one
side.
more. I have one more
Yes,
thing. I have one
go
more
for it.
thing. I think I considered, well, I don't know. I found it really because I had heard that pain isn't normal, but discomfort is to be expected. I found it really tricky to be like, okay, is this discomfort or is this pain? And at the end, I ended up with bleeding nipples. And maybe you can explain a little bit about, you know, yeah, nipple pain and breast
Mm-hmm.
pain and what to really look out for.
Mm-hmm. Actually, it's quite easy to answer. First of all, every woman is different. The same sensation while breastfeeding, a woman would say this is a discomfort, while other women would already call it pain. So I'm not listening if a woman is telling me I have pain or I have discomfort. I always look into the case. For you, after, when you start breastfeeding and you feel a discomfort, and the discomfort is there the whole time throughout the breastfeeding session, then the latch is poor. The baby is rubbing the tongue on the nipple. There's too much friction. The latch is too shallow. The nipple will get sore or bleeding, what Anna said.
Yeah, and you should not feel like you need to grit your teeth through
No,
every
and you
feed.
don't push through because it's not getting better. It's always getting worse. So whenever it is a consistently sensation, doesn't matter if you call it pain or discomfort. If it's consistently, it's wrong.
Yeah.
If it is a sensation, it is at the first few seconds when you start breastfeeding. You can also call it pain. I don't mind. But it is the intensity is going down as long as you breastfeed. This is what we call the nipple stretch pain at the beginning. So the nipple is pulled, is elongated, and then the muscle fiber reacts with contraction. This is sometimes a triggering sensation. Some would call it discomfort, some would call it pain. It doesn't matter, but this will wean out and this will fade over the breastfeeding session. So usually it's the first 30 seconds, 60 seconds, the first minute maximum, and then it should disappear. Then the latch is correct. Consistently pain during breastfeeding. Don't solve it yourself. Look for support.
Yeah. And I was even told the latch looks good, but it was painful. And I think
Yes.
if a latch looks good and it's painful and your nipples come out completely squashed and lipstick shaped, then that's not a good latch. It should not.
Then it's not a good latch.
It's not a
And
good
yes,
latch. Yeah.
yes, even if people say the latch looks good, but we also have this, but now we go into details. We also have sometimes really a perfect latch, but it is painful because, for example, the baby's palate is very high. Yeah? And then the pressure is in a different area. Maybe the baby is clenching because it is a baby who has a hypertension. So we have issue even with a perfect latch, but this will lead to the expert IBCLC professional. They can check, is the latch really okay, or is there an issue we need to solve? A consistent discomfort, pain is not correct, whatever the reason is.
And also, if you notice, not just nipple, but also if you notice there is a painful lump, whenever there's pain, you seek support, professional support by a lactation consultant. And I also want to ask you this, we are nearly coming to an end, but is a deep breast massage always helpful?
Yeah, this is a very good question. Deep breast massage, I don't like it at all. I know in Chinese culture, there is these ladies which massage the breast because I have heard the term, you need to break the lumps, you need to massage them out. You cannot massage out a lump, and you can also not treat a blocked milk type exclusively by massage. The reason is that the milk is actually inside a milk bulb. And there is a tiny membrane around. So whenever somebody is squeezing that, what's going to happen is that the milk is going through the membranes into the breast connective tissues around. And there is the milk in a place where it shouldn't be, and it can start creating inflammation and triggering the milk, triggering a mastitis, because then the milk in the tissue cannot go out anymore. It needs to be absorbed, and then I have an inflammation. So this strong squeezing, whenever breast massage is a nice thing, if it's more like a lymph massage, sometimes can also go up into the direction of the armpits and or down, depends what is the issue. It should be gentle. Whenever it is painful, it is always too much. So go away from this traditional, this must be painful. I know this is painful, but you need to go through, you will feel better. Even as a lot of milk is coming out, this is not the reason. This is not a good idea.
Even if someone with a lot of authority says it with a lot of authority.
I know
this can be really outdated
yes.
practice, and
outdated and leads you sometimes into a mastitis. So whenever somebody's putting their hands on your breast, what actually it should be you who is doing that. And if this is painful, then you know that is too much. It should feel okay, but not painful at all, and also no discomfort.
Yeah. My gosh, I think, Karen, we have to do another talk. I have so many unanswered
you have so many
questions.
I know.
But I just want to tell everyone we have another 3 minutes. If you have a burning question, raise your hand, unmute yourself, or put them into the chat box. And otherwise, what should I ask you, Karen? I have so many good questions.
I think we had all
Maybe
the best questions.
can I ask something?
Yes,
So,
Lily.
because Anna, at the beginning you said this is not about telling parents if they did mistakes, But I just want to know if I really did a mistake when I was breastfeeding my daughter. So I did it for 1 year, but I always had the feeling that my milk was not enough, like the supply itself. I knew it was fine because she had the nappies, she was gaining weight, so everything and the numbers was okay, but I always felt that it was not enough. And I always wonder because I kind of like at some point I pump, but then I stopped pumping because I thought like if I'm always with my baby, there's truly no reason for me to pump if because it's easier than to latch the baby than take the pump out and put the things and then clean them and then sterilize them. I mean, to be honest, I didn't have to do it anyway, but still, it's it's work. So for me, it was like, okay, I don't have to go back to work. I don't need a milk bank, so I can always like latch her. But I always wonder if maybe adding some pumping to it would have increased the supply, because when I stopped breastfeeding, actually my baby was the one that kind of decided. For me, I could have like keep going, but I felt she kind of decided because she was like, I mean, we also went into vacation, so of course I couldn't like breastfeed her a lot. She was almost a year. I was also mixing with some bottles because she was with the family, blah blah blah. And then I felt that when I came back to Hong Kong, the supply lowered a lot. So I think for her was like, I'm sucking, like there's nothing coming up. I'm already in solids. Like I think like she kind of like decided to let it go. But I always wonder if I would have pumped more or at least do this power pumping, would that have kept my supply a little bit longer and a little bit more? And maybe we could have kept going with the breastfeeding. But I don't know if that's like irrelevant or it
I
was
think
not,
there
doesn't
are many
matter.
topics now here. So the first
Yeah.
topic, can I increase my supply by pumping? Yes, you can, or by letting the
And
baby
should
on more
you?
frequently. No, you
But
should.
should
If
you
you
do it?
actually no, should is why should you pump? You can pump if you want to build up a storage. You're going back to work. You want
Mm.
somebody else to feed. You want your husband. Then you should pump. Do I have to pump? Not at all. If you're at home and your baby's around.
I
Do
would,
I
but
want to
I would
have a
also, I don't know,
Mhm.
I would also be careful to start pumping because of supply worries without first asking a
This is the
lactation
next.
consultant, because this is the perceived low milk supply that I
Yes.
talked about earlier.
This
Because often you have actually enough, and then you start pumping, and then you create oversupply, and then yeah.
Yes, the thing is, and the second, so the first thing is if I want to pump because I need something extra and I want something extra, it's fine. You can do that. The reason why you said, I think I had the weight was good and everything was good, but I had the feeling I don't have enough milk or it was not enough milk. The question is, why do you think so? Because sometimes what mommies mix up is the need on sucking to calm a baby down. Many babies have a strong need on sucking onto something and not on sucking because of feeding. So many babies are full and they don't need any milk, but they have this sucking sensation like a regulation, nerve regulation issue. And this, some moms misread it as, oh, my baby's still hungry. It's not, it just wants to comfort themselves. And this is the second topic. So, and the third, Lily, you said your baby decided it was okay after a year not to breastfeed anymore. And I think this is okay as a decision. So, the breastfeeding relationship ends because moms maybe don't want it, or if baby says it's enough. So this is fine. It usually happens between the first year and 3 years of age. So this is the normal time whenever babies or moms decide to stop. So yes, extra pumping can bring more supply, more milk. Does it make sense? We need to look into detail. What is the reason why I pump?
Mm.
Is it your question, Lily?
Yeah, no, because I had always this talk with my husband, like, should I have pumped more or not? Would I have
No, don't worry. No.
changed anything?
And
But
if you are triple feeding, which is breastfeeding, pumping, and then supplementing
oh
that
no,
expressed milk,
Too
that is
much.
a full-time job, and that should only be
yeah,
very, very temporary
And
under the
reduces.
guidance with an
Yes. Yes.
IBCLC lactation consultant, and there should be an end in sight. If you're doing this forever, like it's
It's
impossible. You're
not
gonna
good.
go crazy.
Crazy. Yes.
Yeah.
yeah. That's
Yes.
why I didn't like pumping because it was like too much work. I
Too
just
much.
like
No,
latch
no,
the
no, no, no,
baby.
no, no. Yes.
Yeah,
So for short term, it's okay. Otherwise, we need to
yeah.
find a solution to what are the problems actually. What do we
Mm.
look into here?
Yeah.
So not as a general
Okay.
reason, pump for more milk. This is not a general advice. Yes.
This is not like the okay. Thank you.
Then we have another viewer question, and someone suggested to me that rubbing nipples with a towel to make them more rough before birth is good, so they are more prepared for breastfeeding. Is this helpful, or is something else helpful to prepare?
No need for that. I know about, I don't know, when I studied midwifery, it was also the advice to strengthen the skin. It needs to be, you need to get a thick skin on your nipple. This is nonsense. Let me explain you why. When you take your tongue now into your mouth and you go along your hard palate on the roof of your mouth, far back behind, where the soft palate is starting, this is actually the place where your nipple should be when you breastfeed the baby. So the nipple is actually so far behind, and when it is there, it is not rubbing on the palate. So there is no friction at all. It is lying, it is positioned on a very secure place. This is why we don't have sore nipple in breastfeeding, but end up back there. So, in the massage is then done by the areola, which is triggered, but not the nipple. So, there is in first no need to get a stronger skin on the nipple, because usually it shouldn't be get stronger. It can be soft like it was before. And the second topic is actually by creating, pulling and stretching and rubbing, we create many micro injuries, which opens the skin for being more vulnerable for bacteria and stuff from outside. And I also do not like, and I know this would be the next question, I don't like lacinol cream, nipple cream, to prepare the nipple, because it is creating, or it's changing the bacteria, the microbiome on your skin into an artificial one, and leave the nipple alone the way they are. Do not use any perfumes, body lotion, perfume, body lotion, or anything like this. But there's no treatment necessary to prepare the nipple for breastfeeding.
I'm just going to share a couple more resources that I found really helpful that I found later on that might be nice to refer to. Let me just put them into the comments.
And maybe you can post them at the group as well. That's
Yeah, I will.
nice.
So these are some really great resources from like amazing public health
Lovely.
resources that are really nice to have handy when something goes south, or we contact an IBCLC, which I think is the best thing to do.
And do a course before birth. Anna, what is our next topic? What is our next talk about?
I don't actually know, Karin. Remind me.
I think we have a positive birth story, right?
Oh yes, we have a positive birth story. So that's really nice. We want to empower all the expecting parents. Yeah, exactly. So yeah,
a lovely
definitely
lady
join
from
us
India,
for that.
yes,
Yeah.
is talking about the birth experience. Definitely, this will be our next talk. Perfect.
Yes. Thank you so much, Karin, for sharing your amazing knowledge and for helping us separate, some of the common breastfeeding myths from the evidence. And thank you for everyone who joined us. And yeah, we hope tonight has given you a little more confidence, a little bit more reassurance. Yeah. And a reminder that, that breastfeeding doesn't need to be a journey that you have to navigate yourself. So please, if you haven't yet, join our Midwife Live Talk WhatsApp group. And join our next talk. Have a lovely evening, everyone.
Thank you.